Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. The debate on curbing black money and bringing the money stashed abroad has been raging in this country for quite some time now. The NDA government, which has promised to take effective steps towards this aim, are taking measures in that direction. The Union Cabinet yesterday approved a bill that seeks to impose harsh penalties apart from rigorous imprisonment for those found with unaccounted money abroad. The bill, which is likely to be introduced in the Parliament tomorrow, is part of many other measures being contemplated to curb the black money menace. We will look at the proposed move of the government and also discuss how effective it can be. To discuss this, I have with me C.M. Vasudev, former Finance Secretary, Government of India, K.N. Bhatt, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, Professor Arun Kumar, Center for Economic Studies and Planning, JNU, and Vinay Kumar, Senior Assistant Editor of The Hindu. Welcome to all of you. Professor Arun Kumar, one of the provisions of this proposed bill, which we are likely to see tomorrow, is to have some kind of an amnesty scheme. They're not calling it amnesty scheme because they're saying it's going to be different from what it was in the past. How effective is this kind of a scheme, to bring back black money?
See, there have been 6 amnesty schemes in India. The last one was in 1997 called the Voluntary Disclosure Scheme. And in the Supreme Court, the government had given an undertaking that there'd be no further such schemes in the future. And that's why even though they're announcing a scheme, but they're not probably going to call it an amnesty scheme. The problem is that as Vanshu Committee and other committees...
Why did it have to go to the Supreme Court?
Because people said that it's discriminatory. That you generate black income today and then you can whiten it, whereas others have been paying taxes. And that's why the CAG report on the 1997 Voluntary Disclosure Scheme had revealed that people have been revealing in the earlier 5 scheme and also in the 6th. And therefore it says that people have become habitual tax offender. And the second thing is that the honest people turned dishonest. And that's why this was done. Now, what the government did in addition was that after giving this undertaking, it created the Mauritius route or simplified the Mauritius route. And Mauritius route is also like a voluntary disclosure scheme because you can take your money out and then through the round tripping, you can bring it back. So in some sense, there has been a voluntary disclosure scheme working already. And therefore, this particular scheme that the government is now announcing, saying we'll give one-time window, etc., we have to see in the larger context of how do we identify the money abroad. The problem is there are 90 tax havens. It's not 1 or 2 or 5 or 10. Switzerland is the best known, but there are 90 tax havens. And Indians' money stashed in many of them. And nobody has...
And we know only a few of them, that's all.
Well,
this HSBC and UBC thing, which is...
No, HSBC, of course, this particular thing, data came from Switzerland. So Switzerland is the tax haven. In the other case, it was the Liechtenstein, where the LGT bank data came. But the point is, the wider point, and that is that nobody has estimated, and much less the government, how much money has gone abroad, where is the money lying, and who does it belong to? We have only had 1,150 names till now between the LGT disk and the HSBC data, but there are lakhs of others whose names have not come out.
No, but what about the 1997
Voluntary Disclosure Scheme? Yeah.
How successful was it?
Well, it was relatively successful because 33,000 crores of income was revealed, 11,000 crores of tax was collected, but if you look at the black income generation that year, it was about 3 lakh crores. So of that, only 10% you could say was declared. And this 10% was also not out of the income, but out of the wealth and the assets accumulated in the past. So of that, maybe 2% or 3% got revealed. And therefore, the problem is that these voluntary disclosure schemes may reveal 5%, 10% in a given year, but then it accelerates the black income generation. With the black income generation, at that point was roughly 40%, now it's gone up to more than 50%.
Mr. Vasudev? Mr. Vasudev, would you agree with Professor Arun Kumar, or how do you look at this proposal? There are other proposals to this, harsh penalties and things like that, but first let us look at this.
No, I have a couple of observations on this. Firstly, of course, the government, because it is on a little bit of the back foot in terms of the issue of black money, especially black money stashed abroad. And therefore, they have come out with this dual approach. One, of course, is to make it highly deterrent for Indian citizens to stash unaccounted money abroad. Very stringent laws they want to enact. And the second pillar of their approach is to try to stop the generation of black money by Benami transactions, dealing with them, making it obligatory that no advance of more than 20,000 rupees for real estate transactions can be paid and things of that type. I think this latter set of issues which deals with curbing of generation of black money, I think is more critical. Because unless we can stop the generation of black money, merely trying to have an amnesty scheme or some other scheme to get back money is not really going to help, because if you get back some money, more will go out. So the real solution to my mind is how to stop the generation of black money, which the government is also trying to do. My second observation, I think, is that to enact such a stringent law, which can become draconian in the hands of people who are going to enforce the law, because under even the existing laws, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, government and the enforcement agencies have all the powers to deal with people who have illegally taken out unaccounted money. So since you are unable to do that, you are unable to enforce the existing laws, therefore you are enacting more and more stringent laws. This is a normal, I think, government reaction everywhere. For lax enforcement of existing laws, you enact more stringent laws and raise fresh aspirations in the minds of the people. But I don't think it can work. In fact, the danger is that it can become draconian, and it may end up in a situation where even honest people who are holding legitimate accounts, they will be asked to fill various forms, and various questions will be asked and queries will be raised. So the government will have to be very careful in this regard, lest it creates an impression of India being a very unfriendly place for foreign investors to invest their money in India. That is a big danger as I see it.
That's a very interesting...
The third point I want to highlight is that the problem of generation of black money starts with the demand for black money. And the biggest demand creator for black money is our election system and the political parties and their funding of the law. So if there is a big demand for black money, obviously people find their way to generate black money. So government must try to address that aspect also, so that within the country the demand for black money is reduced, so that there is less incentive for creation of black money.
Sir.
That is, to me, the key issue. How do you stop the leak?
I think you have made very important points there, Mr. Bhatt. Mr. Bhatt, what Mr. Vasudev says that, the existing laws which we have, whether it is Prevention of Money Laundering Act or the FEMA and all these things, are they not enough, or have they proved to be ineffective or less effective so far, and so a new law could be more effective?
Well, I entirely agree with Mr. Vasudev that there are enough laws and enough punishments, but none of them has been found to be effective for various reasons.
Sir. I think we will. Mr. Bhatt, we will fix that. We'll fix that and come back to you. I think there is some echo happening there. I will come back to you. Vinay? How do you look at this? You think the government, as Mr. Vasudev also mentioned, under pressure they are doing this kind of a thing? You think these laws have been thought through, how to implement it, and as Mr. Vasudev fears, it could become draconian?
I agree with him broadly what his observations are, but let me point out that right from the time when this NDA government, BJP-led NDA government took office, so first of the thing which they did was the undertaking given to Supreme Court formation of SIT. At least they did that. Number two, what he said, generation of black money, that is one issue, and then evasion of tax. That is also there. And how this black money is generated, it's through raft of very complex systems, which are corporate tax evasions, coming from real estate, coming from criminal activities. And, the Global Financial Index the report came, which is a non-profit organization. It estimated that, nearly between 2002 to 2010 or 11, about 3% of our GDP was in this sector arena, black money. And India remains as has been pointed out, one of the heavily taxed countries, one of the countries which has maximum number of laws and where implementation is tardy. It is in this area where our image, our implementation of these laws, which is taken a beating. So you have to concentrate on both, you know, stop generation or disincentivize generation of black money, and then deal with the tax evasion. I mean, people, it's not illegitimate to have a proper foreign account. People do have foreign account, but what the government is trying to say, if you have a foreign account, please disclose it and pay tax on it.
Yes.
There is no harm in that.
There is no harm in that, but we'll get back to Mr. Bhatt. Mr. Bhatt, this whole business of a new law, you were saying something. You can continue, please. Mr. Bhatt, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, please,
I can hear you.
Yeah, please continue, sir. This whole, a new law being brought in.
See, it's a problem, Girish, is that we have enough laws. If they can be implemented properly, they themselves can work. Increasing the punishment from 5 years to 10 years is not going to make a difference if the punishment is to be given after 20 years. Because what I suggest is that in the new law, they must have a separate, dedicated court system who can punish in the shortest possible time.
Right.
Sorry, again echo. But anyway, the one of the things is that by the new law makes provision for a window where they can come and. Sorry.
I think there's a problem there. We'll get back to you, sir.
Can you hear me?
May I make a few points? Yeah. You see, our estimate is that roughly 50% of GDP is generated as black income currently. So that's about 65 lakh crores. Of that, roughly 10% goes abroad, 90% stays in India. And that's why it's important to tackle...
Sir, 1 second. Yeah. This proposed bill is supposed to be dealing with black money stashed abroad.
And also partly through Benami, etc., generation of black...
No, there's a separate... They're talking of a separate act called the Benami Transaction Act or something like that.
So the point I'm trying to make is that actually you have to try and stop the generation of black income here, but there lies the problem. This 20,000 limit on real estate actually is meaningless, you know, because...
this is cash. Yeah. That you can't, you know... Not more than 20,000 rupees.
It doesn't matter. I mean, because you can pay and not disclose it, right? So, for instance, in the case of business, if you made a transaction where you paid more than 10,000 rupees, you couldn't take it on your account books, but that didn't mean anything. It didn't stop. So, you see, the point is that these mechanical steps are not going to change the thing. Secondly, regarding elections, only 1% of the black income generated actually goes into elections. Okay. So, elections are not the main generators of black income. This is a misconception.
It's a complete myth, you mean?
Complete myth. That this is a central cause of black income generation. Black income generation is for a wide variety of reasons, you know. There are legal activities and there are illegal activities. Illegal activities are like narcotic, drug trafficking, smuggling, etc., etc. Legal activity you generate in industry, you generate in trade, you generate in finance, and that has nothing to do with elections.
Probably in trade, it is the biggest because
you can't
most of us don't take a bill and it's all we all pay in cash.
But that's a small part of the economy. The biggest part of the economy is really manufacturing and things like that.
Okay.
And we have a large informal sector. It's generated in the informal sector, it's generated in the formal sector. And it's a myth that real estate generates black income, even though 40% is paid in black. Because there's a transfer income. You have to generate black income somewhere and then transfer it. So, you know, in our estimate of 50%, we don't count real estate.
Okay.
Because it's only a transfer. I have to generate black income somewhere, and then if I'm buying property from you, then I transfer it to you.
Right.
And you then transfer it to somebody else. So it's a mere circulation of black income.
Okay.
Okay. Similarly, bribes are only a circulation of black income. So people think bribes are the big generators of black income, but that's actually also not true. See, in our estimate of 50%, we neither count bribes nor do we count real estate. Okay. So all these things...
they're all... what you mean to say is they're all being generated at some other place?
Yes. Yes.
Which needs... actually to be
tackled
yes. and plugged.
And then plugged. So to do that, what kind of steps would you take? Say, for instance, corporate sector. Corporate sector inflates its costs. so as to generate black income. So for instance, a small business, as is said, the entire household expenditure is shown as a business expense. So your telephone is shown as company telephone, your peon is shown as, company employee, your entertainment is shown as company entertainment, etc. So therefore, how do you plug these costs, And that's why one of the suggestions is to tax gross profit rather than net profit, where these overheads are not allowed. So many such steps have been suggested, and there have been at least 40 committees and commissions that have gone into various aspects of black economy. They've suggested thousands of things. Hundreds have been implemented. It's not that we haven't implemented. Like high denomination currency note were demonetized in 1978. Voluntary disclosure schemes, bearer bond schemes, acquisition of undervalued property. All kinds of things have been implemented. But the point is the problem is political. Unless the political will is there, as everybody is saying, to implement the laws, it doesn't matter what laws you have.
Implementing the laws, Mr. Vasudev, this is very interesting what Professor Arun Kumar says. He says that, as generally thought, it is not the real estate or the elections, other ones, or elections which generate black money. It is actually
the prime creators of black. It's not that.
They're not. How do you look at and the existing laws which have been there? Why is it that they have been ineffective? Is it lack of political will, as Professor Arun Kumar says? Mr. Vasudev? Okay, I think there's a problem there. Mr. Bhatt, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, please continue, sir.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
See, Girish, one of the things is that you remember that very recently the offense of rape has been given a higher punishment.
Right.
I don't know whether the incidents of such things have reduced. Like that, even in the economic offences, there is no point in simply increasing the punishment. What I suggest is that now, again, there is a problem of...
Sir, just ignore it and continue, sir. Just ignore it and continue.
Yeah, okay. So what I suggest is that, there must be an implementation under this income tax or whatever the tax or amendment act. These tax regime must have their own court system. Now what happens is the moment some offense is put, they have been referred to a criminal court.
Right.
And there they get taxed for about 5 years or 10 years. And therefore the effectiveness of the harshness of punishment is completely lost.
Right.
What I suggest is that for economic offences, there must be a separate adjudicatory machinery dedicated to that one, so that at least within about a year or two, the matter comes to a conclusion.
No, but
because Mr. Bhatt, now today what happens is nobody is worried.
Mr. Bhatt, my question is this.
Yes.
When we talk of delay in the judicial system, the stacks of cases all over the place, you are suggesting that there should be a separate adjudicatory system. But again, that adjudicatory system, how do we ensure that adjudicatory system also doesn't get bogged down by delays?
No. That will be. No, you see, a separate, all sets of cases only to deal with the economic offences separately.
No, but also
it
cases
is not
are spoiled.
Put to the mainstream of the criminal cases.
Okay, I mean that is as far as the adjudicatory system is concerned. But as far as the new law which is being proposed by the government, how effective can it be?
New provision. Now I say that look, unless the enforcement machinery is strict, no point in prescribing 10 years or 20 years, because the 10 years imprisonment when after 20 years. Then I don't care. Somebody may say that I am already 70 years. By the time the punishment is given, I would be out of this jurisdiction of the court. So that is the reason why most of our laws are ineffective, because the adjudication is so slow, and at the end of it, it loses its effect, because when you hear something that so and so murdered, who was a murder accused in 1970 has been given a life imprisonment, we have forgotten the whole effect of it. There is
absolutely
no point in
Mr. Bhatt, coming back to the
again in this
Mr. Bhatt, coming back to the provisions of the bill which is being proposed, one other thing is that the amnesty scheme. They are not talking. Yes. They are not going to call it amnesty scheme because, as Professor Arun Kumar pointed out, the Supreme Court apparently there's a declaration to the Supreme Court that there will not be any more amnesty schemes. But this scheme which they are talking about, where they have to pay the taxes and also penalties, how will it work?
I'm sure they would have taken care of it, because these are all some of the questions, by saying that those who come and that is a part of the scheme which they say that during the next 6 months whoever comes here can get away with this one. It is a part of amnesty, but I don't know what is the wording of the undertaking given to the Supreme Court. But I personally feel that if there is no amnesty, black money solution can never happen. Because people who want to come and deposit the money and pay the taxes, they must get an opportunity, and that will be the only way of solving it, at least partially. And I don't know what is the wording of the undertaking given to the Supreme Court.
Okay, Mr. Vasudev, about the act itself, what Professor Arun Kumar was saying. You were saying something. Please continue, sir.
No, I was saying at the beginning that the act is fine. I think this approach of having a very high deterrent for people to stash, who are stashing unaccounted money in tax havens abroad. So to have a good deterrent is fine. What I was saying is that the existing laws provide lot of powers to the enforcement agencies to deal with such.
Sir, that was the question. No, that was the question I was asking you.
For some reason, not.
Sorry, sir. That was the question I was asking you.
Yes.
Why have the existing laws not been effective, and how will this new law be effective?
So that is exactly the point. The problem is to identify the real beneficiaries of those accounts, because whoever illegally stashes money abroad will not put it in his own name. He will have different layers of corporates and other names and Benami names and this and that. So to lift that veil of secrecy, as it is called in corporate law parlance, is not easy. And since these are all tax haven countries where the authorities are not so cooperative, so the real problem is to identify the real beneficiary. So unless you identify the real beneficiary of these accounts, whether you have a punishment of 10 years or 20 years or whatever is not going to matter.
Okay.
So it is really the manner in which we go, it is really the enforcement and the investigation part which really needs to be strengthened.
Okay.
Of course, honest people who are,
Okay, sir. Vinay, how much of this...
right, thank you.
Sir, please stay on, I'll come back to you. How much of this... all these efforts which are going into this, there has been at the government level, there has been how much of thinking has gone into all this?
No, the government, NDA government appears to be very sincere in its efforts to pursue this black money menace and enacting, bringing this bill, and right from its, if you would have seen its poll campaign also, it was one of the main issues, and how they are pursuing it, I think there seems to be some kind of sincerity in the government.
And do you think that the existing system, the existing mechanisms will be enough to implement or to ensure that this bill is implemented properly, this law is implemented properly?
Yeah, as I said, we are already one of those countries which has maximum number of laws and heavily taxed. You have one view of Dr. Subramaniam Swamy, senior BJP leader, who says that income tax should be abolished.
Right.
Why? Because tax rates in India are high, and it is number of taxes which people pay. Even if you go for eating out, the number of taxes which you get in your bill are, at least 3-4 taxes you are paying. Service tax, luxury tax, VAT, and all those which inflate your bill. So the tendency of the, among the people, among the common lot is to how to evade those taxes.
Absolutely.
So it is one of the major points in this bill.
Professor Arun Kumar, GST, that we're talking of GST, it's supposed to come into play next year. So you think GST will be one of the ways in which we can curb generation of black money in this country?
Well, first I'd like to point out India is not a heavily taxed nation. If you look at the World Bank tables, India is a very moderately taxed nation. And India's direct tax GDP ratio is one of the lowest in the world. So we pay very little direct taxes. And in fact, the salaried employees pay actually very little. Most of it comes from businesses. Corporation tax is entirely paid by businesses. And the rates are not very high. And the effective rate of tax is actually quite low.
Quite low. As the Finance Minister said
in the budget. So if India is not a heavily taxed nation, we should get rid of that assumption. Secondly, only 3% of Indians file direct tax return, income tax return.
Right.
Of that, only 1% pay effective taxes. So 2% actually pay very little, either nil or very low taxes are declared by them. So in other words, we need to get more people into the tax net before we can do that. Now coming to GST. GST is actually what? A value-added tax applied at goods and services.
Right.
Now, value-added taxes all over the world are also evaded because they're very complex. You require computerization, you require monitoring, etc., etc. You require costs and income both to be declared. So GST also lends itself to tax evasion. It's not that by implementing GST, we'll be able to reduce tax evasion. So studies have been done of value-added tax as it has been introduced in a variety of countries, and they show that tax evasion continues. Now, how do you get rid of the problem?
What are the measures, apart from these measures which the government is talking about? Then if you're saying that all this is going to be complicated, then what is it that
the first thing that needs to be done is that our investigative agencies have to do a proper job. We know that in India, all cases are spoiled. Take Hassan Ali case, 2007. Nothing was done. The money disappeared. On the day when the Hassan Ali disc was captured, it was $8.5 billion in the UBS account. Later on, Pranab Mukherjee in his press conference said only $60,000 is left. Yes. Now, he's not going to leave the money there to be caught. So, cases are knowingly spoiled, and that's why the Supreme Court has repeatedly said that CBI is like a caged parrot. So unless the investigative agencies do their work properly, and I'll give you another example, take Madoff's case. Madoff's case was a $50 billion Ponzi scheme. In 6 months, he was behind bar. At the same time, Satyam's case was there, $2 billion, and the case has not yet been come to fruition. Completely. So in other words, the cases are knowingly spoiled so that, prosecution doesn't take place. So first thing is to see that our agencies investigate properly, collect the full data, and then only is it possible
and act quickly. And as Mr. Bhatt says that, have an adjudicated system which punishes soon also. Mr. Vasudev, GST...
Girish.
Yes, Mr. Bhatt.
Yeah.
I'll come to you, Mr. Vasudev. Yes, Mr. Bhatt, quickly.
You see, one thing you must remember, Girish, is that these tax havens are far more sophisticated and cleverer than our governmental machinery which makes law.
Right.
So it is, as Mr. Vasudev said, our investigating agency cannot reach those places and really find out who is the beneficiary.
Right.
There will be, they are not so very simple as we think. No, because their tax havens have specialized in giving protection to cheats from world over.
Okay. No, but in US, in the Birkenfeld case, the US only saw this Mr. Birkenfeld traveling back and forth between Zurich and New York and caught hold of him. No, so it's very simple things can be done. Even vis-a-vis Switzerland, and they got 4,500 names and $780 million fine.
Mr. Vasudev, very quick last words to you. So you think that this bill which is being contemplated, and maybe it will be before the in the Parliament tomorrow, will only partly address the problem? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, my own feeling is that this is a lot of political compulsion because government is on the back foot on this issue, and probably the bill will, when it is tabled, will be referred to a standing committee and it will be discussed and set bare so that the law doesn't become draconian. But I think the other part which the government's focus is on, how to stop the generation of black money, I think that is the one to go, and more steps, more efforts are needed in that direction. And I genuinely also feel that introduction of GST is going to help in preventing evasion of taxes and generation of black money through this system.
Okay, sir.
So GST is a key.
Okay, sir. I think on that note we need to end. We'll wait and watch as Mr. Vasudev rightly says that this bill, when it is when it comes in Parliament, surely it's going to go before standing committee, and there will be more discussions on this. We'll wait and watch how it will all evolve. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue, big picture, same time tomorrow.